Well, hey there. My name's Ken, and you're watching Mastering UX. This episode is a little bit different. I'm going to be covering coding. If you're not into coding, hey, no problem. If you do want to learn a little bit about Sass and setting up a CSS framework like UIkit, stick around. In the past, I did produce a couple of videos on UIkit, and UIKit's just one of my favorite CSS frameworks. And I did get a lot of questions about how do you get started with setting things up. So I wanted to put together this video and kind of show you what are some ways that you can get started with UIkit with working with Sass files. And so let's go ahead and take a look at this. There's a couple of ways that you can do things. The first way is that you can just link to their CDN files. And I have a website right here. It's called kennethlee.photography. To be honest, I set this website up in 8 hours flat. And it's got functionality such as there's a sticky header, there is centered text, there is these kind of modal windows, and they will open up and you can kind of paginate through these. So there's a lot of this functionality. If I were to do this by scratch, this would take me a long time. If you take a look, there are these 3-column layouts, but all the design is stuff that I did through custom CSS. So if you go ahead and I've got this kind of very zoomed in so that you can see it a little bit better. So I'm going to go ahead and hit View Page Source. What I wanted to show you is all that power from the UIkit framework is really in these 3 files right here. There is the CDN server. They're not even living on my site. I can go ahead and just copy these 3 lines of code, and that gives me the ability to start putting in these tags where, you know, I could put in header UK sticky, you know, here's the formatting of a nav bar with a container and make it centered. And so I just copied and pasted a lot of this code from the UIkit framework. There's this kind of off-canvas mobile menu that comes up. There is a lightbox functionality that when you click on things, there it says UK lightbox. There's a command to give it an animation fade. Anytime you see UK dash, you know that is something that is a UK framework functionality or CSS class. And so I was able to put together, again, this website very quickly. Now, the next way to do this is if you go to the UIkit website, you'll see it says installation. And this installation is really that CDN way. If you just link to it. There's nothing wrong with doing it this way. If you've got a website, you don't really want to use Sass, you're not working with a lot of developers, and you just think maybe it's a website that's going to be one and done, maybe it's going to be done in less than 20 hours, you know, go ahead and use this. It's fine. Okay, and if you use Sass, and by the way, when you use the CDN way, you can do every single thing, all the functionality from the Sass files, is whether you do it through CDN or through Sass. Now, here on this Sass way, there is this way to go ahead and say download these files. And let me see if I click on this. Let me see if there's the latest release. Okay, so UIkit keeps their download files over on GitHub, and if I go ahead and click on source code, that's going to go ahead and download. Okay, so let me just go ahead and show you. So you downloaded the source files. As you can see, I kind of have a lot of things that I've been kind of saving. Now, if I go ahead and double click on this, it's going to open up this UIkit, and I have this folder that I created. It's called website.com. So at the root of this, I'm going to go ahead and put UIkit. And the way you're going to set up your folders is you're just going to simply put in underscore CSS. This is my preference, actually. I'm going to put in underscore images. And I'm also going to create one more folder, and we'll create it underscore JS. Okay. So UIkit is this framework. It's going to be sitting here. And the idea of this being kind of separate to the side is that it's going to allow me when, let's say right now we're at version 3.16, when we get to 3.17, I might want to pass that up. Let's say we get to version 4.0, I'm interested in upgrading, I can go ahead and put those files in and I can recompile and get some of the new functionality that's coming out of UIkit. So in UIkit, they've got a distribution, and these are the fully compiled files, and they're the same kind of finished files that you would find on their CDN network. So you can go ahead and link to those if you choose. So you could use their CDN servers to reference the kit, or these source files, they have less and Sass. So less is one CSS sort of compiled language, and this is Sass. So if you look in Sass, there is a lot of folders in the files in the components. There's a lot of files over in this theme directory. And there's a UIkit themes, variables, and variables CSS. Okay, so going back to their documentation, we pretty much can just follow that. So I'm going to go ahead and open VSCode, and right now I've got that website directory. It's here, and let's go ahead and first off, I'm going to create an index. Oops. I'm going to create a file called index.html, and in the CSS directory, we're going to create main _ SCSS. Okay. So really the files right here, they're really, this folder structure right here is really, we're almost good to go right here. Okay. There's a lot of different ways that you can kind of set this up. Just know that this main.scss is going to pull in the Sass files and recompile all those Sass files. And we're never really going to ever edit this UIkit folder because, like I said before, you're going to want to be able to have the upgradability on the Sass file. And when we decide to customize this UIkit, we're going to do it either in this main SCSS, or we could decide to have other Sass files on our own that's going to house some of these kind of customizations to the UIkit. Okay, so that is that. The next thing I need to cover is in Visual Studio, there are different extensions. It looks like kind of an extension that you're kind of adding to it. And extensions, they just have an install button. The one I'm going to recommend is to use this Live Sass compiler. The reason why it's struck out is because I have Live Sass installed right now. So go ahead and install that on your VS Code. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and open main CSS again. And let's go ahead and go to the UIkit. Now they tell us to go ahead and take these files and paste them into our Sass file. Okay. And there is this, these links, and it goes UIkit source. Okay. Now the thing is this directory structure is a little bit different. So if you do 2 dots, that'll take you back out the directory. Okay. And that's going to make sure that we link to our UIkit library. Okay. And if you notice it says watch, I'm going to go ahead and unclick it. When you first install it, that plugin, there's going to be this icon down below, and it says watch CSS. And essentially what this does is when I click it, it is now literally watching the file. And anytime I save a change to this file, it's going to recompile it. Okay, so now that we've made this change, I'm going to go ahead and hit Control S. I'm going to go ahead and save. Okay. And let's see if it successfully did. So look at that. It generated main.css. So by default, like I created this as CSS file, and in main CSS, take a look at that. It generated all this code. And just for fun, let's go ahead and see how much code is in there. There's 11,628 lines of code. Now, that's a whole lot. Okay, so now this main CSS essentially has all the files that that was in my kennethlee.photography website. And you'd say, like, so what's the point of all this? Well, as you see, UIkit, I'm going to go ahead and zoom in a little bit. What they do is they show that you could have these things like a global link color. You could have, this is basically an override to a variable. There is these mixins, which are a little bit more powerful. You can choose to have some overrides in some of the functionality that Sass offers that is being used in UIkit, and kind of provide overrides for this. And then this UIkit theme really has a set of imports that really is going to import all those files that I showed you over on the UIkit library. Okay, so right now that kind of got the CSS going, and let's go ahead and look at the index.html. So let's go ahead and go to kennethlee.me, and I always just copy HTML CSS from another place. I don't usually have everything memorized. So here's, okay, so this is our basic HTML document. Let's go ahead and, change this to website.com. And here is, okay, this is a Google framework that I like. And here is the first UIkit. So what I'm going to do is I'm not going to use their CSS library, but I'm going to use our CSS library. Okay. I am going to link to, and we're going to choose this _sys main.css. Okay, so that takes care of that. And there is this UIkit main.js. So this is for the JS. And, I may decide to use that CDN file, or I may not. Distribute JS. And we're going to go to link to that same very file. And this is their icons. Okay. Same thing. I'm going to go ahead and go to UIkit. Let's go to distribute. Let's go to JS. There's the icons.min. Okay. So this is really, now I have all the same power that I had on that Kenneth Lee photography website. I'm going to go ahead and close this because I think this is getting annoying to us. And we're kind of ready to start going ahead and building. And let's go ahead and let's just do some sample code. And let's go ahead and do this. Let's go to UIkit's website. And they've got this kind of code that you can kind of copy to the clipboard, and you can just kind of take it. So I know that UIkit has a class just for having a container. So I am going to use that. Okay, it's going to give us a little bit of margin. Okay, now I've got this kind of UK accordion. And let's go ahead and cross our fingers, and let's go ahead and see if this is going to work for us. So, and it looks like for some reason we are not there yet. Okay. Okay, I do see something wrong. So the CSS file that I was linking to is not linked to properly. Okay. It should not be going to that. And also these should not be linking to the root of a server, because it's not truly a server yet. Okay, let's go ahead and see what that does. Okay, there we go. So look at that right here. We have an accordion ready to go. Okay. Now, what I want to show you is I'm going to go ahead and zoom out of this. Oops. And let's go to their UIkit. And I'm going to go into their Sass directory, okay? One thing that you're going to be probably doing quite a bit is you're going to notice that they have all these variables. And so you're going to want to kind of think about, maybe do you want to have some changes to their global variables. And so if you look over here on our main.css, they've changed the global link color. Okay. There's the accordion line title. There is the line height. Okay. There is this global emphasis color. So let me go ahead and do this and change this to orange. Okay. There you kind of see, ooh, there was kind of this compilation. Oh, that's because I shouldn't have that variable in here. Okay. Let's go ahead and see if that compiles. And it does compile. And let's see if that makes a change. Okay. So, you know, if I were to hit a variable that were to be a lot more, that was to be used a lot more, then that would have a lot more effect on, say, there was hundreds of web pages. Okay, so just while we're on a roll, okay, there's kind of this table. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this. Let's go back to our index.html and let's just see. Is this going to have sort of the functionality, the look and feel of what we had before? Yeah, it does look like the CSS. Now, okay, so that gives you sort of this idea of how do you get working with Sass. Now you kind of see that we have the ability to kind of customize the variables. Something I haven't gone through, but there is a way to reduce the download size, file size of some of these Sass files or these CSS files that are going to get produced, because you're able to choose the components that you need, and that's another advantage of using Sass. I did want to talk about something, and you know, this Visual Studio live, kind of live Sass extension, it does have some limitations. And one of the limitations is you're not really able to, without doing some command line kind of stuff, you're not able to direct where a Sass file will put its output file to. So I had that main Sass file, and it automatically puts it into the same directory and names it the same thing. So if I have something called whatever.scss, it goes ahead and places the CSS file when it does compile in that same directory. Well, if you use command line tools, you're able to say, well, go ahead and put it into this deep folder, or you can set a lot of different kind of commands. And so if you don't want to use command line tools like Node.js and command, there's really two options that you have. One is to use Codekit, and Codekit is only for the Mac browser. It's a very polished tool, and that gives you a lot of power to be able to tell how things are going to be compiled, what the file name will be called. Do you want to minify it? Do you want to not include certain things in the JS? There's a whole hosting. There's these kind of map files that determine how readable it is afterwards. And then there's a second tool. So that Codekit, if I'm correct, I think it's maybe it's about $50. And there's another tool which is got a free trial, but it does force you to purchase it if you want this annoying kind of reminder message to come up. And that tool, let's go ahead and take a look at it. It's called Prepros. And right here, this is what the annoying message looks like. It's you have to hit continue trial, my site. And so what I'm going to do is show you right here. There's my site, website.com. And so if I add this project, and I have this main Sass file, oops, what you're going to notice is there's this output file right here. And this is going to allow you, again, for me to say, you know what, I want a deep folder. Go ahead and create that. And I want this to be called deep cascade.css. And go ahead and select that. Okay. And so when I process this file, okay, hopefully that did it successfully. Let's take a look. So there's this deep folder, and there you go. There's this deep cascade CSS, and we're going to go ahead and open it in VS Code. And it did. It compiled it. It has all those files. But when you do get into these big projects that have, I've had projects that have had 20 Sass files in it, that's where you might want to have this kind of customizability and think about maybe purchasing a tool if you don't want to get into command line prompting. So there you go. Hopefully this helps you get started on working with UIkit. All this information is going to help you get started with Sass. All this information is going to help you get started with any kind of CSS framework like Bootcamp, maybe Skeleton. There's another one that I like. It's called KUB. It's called Cube. UIkit, which is, again, this is my favorite. All this information is going to be useful for you in those kind of instances. So I hope you found this helpful. Please like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. All this is free channel. So feel free to support this channel. Thanks for sticking with me. Again, my name is Ken, and this is Mastering UX.